Hey everybody, Sketch Card Hive here. Nice to see you all here. We are going to talk about some obscure finds, things that you don't normally stumble across when you're building a character collection, but after years of building character collections, you tend to find some odd things. We got parody cards, band cards, game cards, a bunch of cool stuff that you wouldn't think about, phone cards to look at. So I got my binders here. We got two amazing people with me. We got Don, Dr. Strange Archive. How are you, buddy?
Oh, great.
Great. We got some amazing cards from him, and of course, OCD Marvel sketch cards. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man.
All right. So we're in. Ryder, how you doing, buddy? So glad you're True Blue, Nathan. All right. So this should be pretty fun. We got a Ghost Rider among other collectors, and of course, a Domino collector. Functify, what's going on, man? Nice to see you here. Raj, what's up, man? Hey. All right. So good to see you all here. Perfect. So let's start off by saying a couple things. So I just want to hear from you two real quickly on just some obscure cards, brief overview on kind of your first time experiencing that there were such a thing as these obscure cards that existed for your collection. Okay, just kind of your first time kind of stumbling upon it. We're going to go ahead and start with Don, and then we're going to go OCD Marvel sketch cards.
So the obscure stuff is just kind of like variants and stuff. Especially once you build a collection to a certain level, you kind of run out of things. So you really start looking in detail at stuff you see on the auction sites and in advertisements, and you start noticing differences in things like, I recognize that image, but that size, I don't know what it is. Well, it's a pusher card. It's a game. It's a card that was in one of those big arcade games where it had all the coins, and you put coins in and the little bulldozers push all the cards towards the thing that falls over. And that's one of the things I found this year was a pusher card. And because I saw it was a different size than I expected, it's a reused image, has been used on a lot of things. So I had to investigate, and I had to actually send the seller an email trying to get more information on it, because I can be very leery these days because people reprint stuff and make their own stuff, and which is fine. But if you want to know if it's officially licensed or not, I've got no qualms about the other stuff. But that's when it really kind of intrigues you, and then you can also kind of figure out by the way they answer those questions if they're kind of full of shit too. You know, if they're trying to push something off that's not what it is. So that's kind of how I run across it. Is I'll see an image of something, and then the dimensions will be different, or it'll just be something totally wacky that it's like, all right, that's art I've never seen before. What is that? Some of it's very easy to identify as like a Garbage Pail style, art or something like that. But they're always fun to stumble across stuff like that.
Pusher card. I didn't even know that was a thing. And of course, I'm worried now that I don't have my surfer one. But that sounds really cool, actually. I want to see that. Pusher card. I'm going to take a note. Why? Because that's what I do. I take notes of this stuff because...
And that makes sense, because I used to take my kids to, oh, God, what's the one around here? And I can't remember the name of the game place. Dave & Buster's, there you go.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They had the pusher games, and they had a Star Trek one, and I remember they had cards like that, yeah.
Yep. So all it is along with the rest of the stuff that's in there that gets pushed off the ledge, they have a set of these. And then on the back, there's a barcode and a scanner, and you actually get points, or you get, other things for them. And when I saw this, I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of cool, but where did it come from? And it took me about 5 minutes of Googling, and I actually found the machines and the company that sells the machines, just to verify that, yes, these are, something that, it is legit. So, yeah.
Of course you found the machines. I hear Don say stuff to me sometimes, and I'm like, I am not surprised by anything with him anymore about this stuff. So it's always funny to be on camera and hear and be like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Random question I have to ask now. Was there ever a Doctor Strange pinball machine?
No. But oddly enough, that was before a lot of stuff kind of went sideways, because when you retire, you think life's easier, but it never is. That was going to be my retirement gift to myself. Because I lived outside of Chicago, and there's some actual pinball companies in Chicago. Chicago's a big manufacturing vintage place, but there was still some people that manufactured pinball machines, and that was going to be my retirement gift to myself, as I was going to have them do the pinball machine, and then I was going to get the glass blanks and find some artists that can do the reverse painting on the glass to do the pinball glass. So it's still on my bucket list. I'm still dedicated to get that done. But as far as I know, there was no dedicated Doctor Strange machine. Back when the 2016 movie came out, they might have had one for a publicity thing or something like that. But I've never personally seen one.
It's so weird because Doctor Strange on a pinball machine is like if you had to pick characters who would be perfect for a pinball machine, right? Doctor Strange would be the wackiest, coolest looking one. You have the book, the eye in the middle. You could see, like, I just picture it so well. So
And I've seen him on one or two, but they're all like Avengers machines or something.
Yeah,
I haven't seen an actual dedicated.
like a full themed out Doctor Strange thing.
But that's actually on one of my bucket lists. My lifetime list column is trying to get a custom.
I kind of want to put it on my bucket list. I feel like everybody should get a pinball machine.
Pinball machine.
Pinball machines are good, man. I love them. I don't know where they are, if they're as popular or being known about that much anymore. But man, pinball machines are fun.
I was never a big gamer when Xbox came out. I was older and in the Marines and didn't have time and stuff like that. But I still, any games that have Doctor Strange on them, I still buy the games or have the cartridges, even though I can't play them or I've never played them. But yeah, having a pinball machine would just be iconic. That'd be freaking awesome.
I have something I'll show you guys. Just to remind me, Marvel Ultimate Alliance was a great one. Was a game that came out with. Yeah, that's a fun one, and they're playing cards for that. We'll talk about playing cards too. All right, OCD, Matt, tell me how did you finally start getting into this nightmare of a situation?
I mean, I think I've always known about it through you, through a lot of the foreign cards, and just seeing this variety out there and knowing there was this rabbit hole to go down. But I sort of held off, and I don't think it was until I really started going heavy into TCDB and started seeing the examples there that I really went into it. And now I've been kind of going down even deeper because so many times it's not just like, for example, why don't you throw my screen up real quick? Just
please.
Sometimes like HeroClix. So HeroClix, for people who don't know, these little toys like this.
Absolutely.
And they come with cards. And sometimes you get an obvious one. Like you Google Danny Moonstar and like, oh, there's Danny. She's on the card. But then you start to realize that, oh, look, there's a picture of a comic that she's on the back.
No, you did not.
Well, what if there are other issues on the back of other characters that aren't listed that feature her? And we'll just give us some preview for a little later when we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a rabbit hole that is.
I just moved my HeroClix cards into a new binder because I'm moving some of them out of the one touches and into binders just so they're easier to look at.
Wait, do they fit in a standard top loader?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they're standard size cards.
Yep. And it was, I don't know how many years ago, but it's a recent thing. They started putting the comic books on the back. The older ones usually just have the circles and the stuff like that out. But HeroClix are fun, even though I've never played the game myself. I still have all the rare HeroClix and the cards.
Somebody sharing your Marine background there, Don?
Semper Fi. All right, Steve Dog.
Another Doctor Strange collector.
Yeah, there's probably not enough time on this episode to go down.
No, this is going to be forever.
But I have one planned out because I went on a sidetrack that's going to interest you, Mr. Noren.
I'm very excited. You teased me about this, and I'm kind of like, all right.
All I know you already know, but this caught me completely off guard. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to see the test. We got our Spider-Ham collector, a resident Spider-Ham collector. Amazing. Hey, Big Dom here. What's up, buddy? Yes, Panini stickers.
The good Panini stickers, like some of them, like I said, some of them, like the Panini stickers, if you're just doing eBay searches, you're going to come across them, right? So I think a lot of them, it's just keeping up to date on your eBay searches. But then some of them, like I said, when it's not the main character or it's not a typical set.
Are named after your character. So also like for obscure finds, I've had to do two things, which is a little side note, but I've had to put my character's real name, Noren Rad, and then I've also had to put his nicknames. So Sentinel of the Space Waves, Chrome Dome, all this kind of stuff. And then the other one I've had to do is put their foreign name phonetically spelled, well, not phonetically, but with the accents and stuff spelled out. That's been the kicker. That one I figured out a couple of years ago where I was like, wait a minute, I'm not going to find the Italian, the Spanish, or any of this other stuff unless I'm spelling it like on the card.
Now, what about learning the Chinese characters and entering those for like the Camon cards and things?
I actually haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
I'm not in it yet.
on eBay, usually if it's a US seller, they're going to list the character's name. But even then, right, this one's Batroc the Leaper, but okay, you've got Hawkeye and Spider-Man in the background. They're not listed anywhere on the card. So again, how do you find these ones where this is probably called House of M, but it's got Magneto, it's got Scarlet Witch, it's got Quicksilver, right? How do you do all that and keep your sanity?
Yeah, so I've been hitting Disney 100 hard, which is a Chinese set.
Yep.
Honestly, I will place that right behind Black Diamond, right, as my second favorite live action set. They did a really good job with the cards. But on the back, even though it's a Chinese set, and you basically buy most of your cards from China and the boxes from China, they still put the American titles on them and that on the back. But again, if it's just an appearance and it's not the person's card, it's like the past 2 weeks for Disney 100, I just do the Disney 100 generic searches and I go through every card because
Me too, I was just about to say.
Yeah,
yep, I go through the lots.
And then I get people that hit me up and say, hey, did you see this on the back of this? And I'm like, awesome. And when a new set comes out, I'll usually post in the card groups, hey, here's my few cards I've gotten so far. If anybody notices strange, anywhere else, please let me know, even if it's just by name or, what have you. And you get it, you get those people out there that help you out with that, because as far as a person that goes through numbers of cards, I'm very small. There's plenty of other people out there that go through tons of cards and break cases and everything else, and they see this a lot more than I do. So having those feelers out there to get back to me really helps my collecting out, because they can hook me up.
Have you had any luck with the newer Finding Unicorn sets? Because I haven't seen a lot of those posted on even eBay.
Yeah. So I've got 6 color variants of Strange.
Nice.
So far. And Finding Unicorn, to be honest, Finding Unicorn and the Disney set, I can't remember the Japanese company. It's a great refreshing break from Upper Deck.
Oh yeah,
it absolutely is. Finding Unicorn, they came out initially with the live action set, which was all right. I prefer the comic sets usually more than live action. But they've been knocking out of the park, and I've really enjoyed both Finding Unicorn and this new Disney 100 set. So and Finding Unicorn's coming out with a new set here shortly too.
Oh yeah, they're pounding at the set.
They're breaking it already. I've been seeing the Surfer. I'm already.
Oh, have you? Okay, yeah. I gotta go check it out then.
Yeah,
it's coming. I haven't seen any on eBay.
That was a great break when we did those. Remember, Justin had some boxes at OAX.
I'm gonna have to go for that. I'm gonna get slammed by Platinum and Finding Unicorn at the same time, which is going to be not great. But that should be kind of fun. I'm going to make a list of my character's name in every other language and make a quick sheet. Yeah. What's that?
If you get people that are computer savvy, they can actually code searches for you too. So it's easier for someone who's not. So Matt brought up the Panini stickers. I collect them, but I have a problem with Panini stickers. They are so thin, even getting the backs off of them, you end up tearing them, which is kind of weird. But if card adjacent collections, when you start getting kind of tired or set up card adjacent topics like stickers, because outside of Don Russ, the next 2 Marvel edition trading cards were sticker cards.
Yep.
So that's very easy for someone's collection. And especially if you go vintage, Panini kind of has the past several years as far as the stickers, and they have the books that you put the stickers in. But if you go vintage, you get these sticker cards.
There's the FTCC or something like that. FTCC.
FTCC.
Yeah.
So this is I just pulled out Series 3. A lot of my stuff is still boxed up, but you can put the stickers in. And I'm the idiot that has to buy a sticker and then fill an album. So I have the raw sticker.
Of course you have to.
But and then I try to have a blank album as an example of the blank album, and then I try to actually fill the album. So if you're familiar with like the comics, the value stamps that you used to collect out of the comics in that, these are kind of the same thing, except for they're actually straight up stickers. So
there's Danny right there. You're on the Danny page. I saw that.
So if you like stuff like that, make sure you check out the vintage stuff too, because there's a lot of stuff people don't realize is out there. A lot of it is pretty easy to find, or can be easy to find because they made a ton of it. but getting it in near mint condition and getting it in the regular conditions. Yeah, value stamp, outstanding. Yep.
Just so you can keep talking, I just wanted to show people.
Yep.
There you go.
So the value stamps to collect in that same fashion like I do here is a little bit more difficult because you have a harder time cutting up some of those comic books to get the stamps at them. I try to just collect the comics with the stamps in them and keep them in the comic book, and then get the books that they're supposed to go in and just leave them blank. But some of them actually are also kind of a collage value stamp kind of thing too. So it's nice to see them in the collage. But one way you can do that too is just photocopy it and then cut them out and put the collage together so you can see what the collage is without destroying, what have you. So,
yep. I had this comic. The reason I have this value stamp is because someone on eBay reached out and they say, look, I have this book, but the value stamp's fine, but the book is garbage.
Yep, absolutely.
I can't sell it. And I was like, I'm the dude. I bought a couple of the copies because the same stamp appears in 3 other issues. And there's a great resource now on value stamps that wasn't there like 3-4 years before. So there's a book that kind of shows you where all the value stamps are, but you don't have to buy the book. There's just a great website on this stuff.
So here's another version.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
That are like this. And these are, again, they're out there and you can find them, but to get them in a condition like this is what you hunt for. And what I'll do a lot of times is I'll buy I'll buy one that I can get just to have it in the collection. And then eventually a few years down the road, if I'm able to, I can pull up or I can get something that's in a near mint condition or something like that. So there's like the cat page.
I remember those guys.
And that type of stuff. So, there's stickers are very much trading card adjacent, in my opinion, because they've got a long history in trading cards and they're the same size-ish, something small format that can still fit into people's, where they're storing their stuff and things like that. So
I got something for you. Go ahead, Matt.
And so many rabbit holes because you're talking about value stamps. Norin, I'm assuming you have the actual U.S. Postal Surfer stamp, right? Yeah.
They're a later year. I have my vintage binder in front of me, but I actually found this, I think a buddy of mine found me this.
Nice. Because I'm sure there are also non-U.S. stamps too, right? Oh, wow.
I'm assuming there is, which I have to go down that rabbit hole. but I have this.
The topic of this shouldn't be Character Series Collection Episode 5. This should be identifying mental illnesses.
Who needs the most help? So Don was talking about stickers.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times you have stickers. I think game pieces. I think pogs. And I think rub-a-tattoo. I think these are good too. Okay?
That's awesome.
This is pretty stupid funny.
Oh,
these are rub-on tattoos, not the best quality, but they're sealed up.
Is that a tattoo?
Yeah.
Don knows. But there you go. So there's another little obscure one for you guys.
This is the only Doctor Strange temporary tattoo I have ever found in my entire collecting career.
Really?
It came in a 2-pack of Iron Man, and it's foreign.
That's awesome.
There were no U.S. made temporary tattoos.
That's heartbreaking. That's awesome.
So not to get too far off track, but since you did bring up,
this whole show is about getting off track.
Want to see Doctor Strange stamps? I got Doctor Strange stamps. These ones are Doctor Strange stamps. Doctor Strange stamps.
Man, you got really screwed with the movies, didn't you? That must have hurt.
I've got the U.S. Postal Service display for the Marvel stamps. They came in cut edges
on the back of that. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where you put them all together.
Yeah, I know. I keep wanting to buy them.
And I've even got the tabletop display, the tabletop cardboard cutout thing that's got them on there.
So one I remember, so I came across one for Silver Surfer that stuck in my head from years and years ago before I even collected cards. One of the first things I ever collected was vintage Fillmore posters for the rock shows.
Yeah.
Like you have the Youngbloods poster?
I haven't been able to get the poster in near mint condition yet, but I've got the handbill in near mint condition.
That's awesome.
This is actually one of the very first Doctor Strange collectibles. This is one of the earliest ever Doctor Strange items that you could get as a collector.
That is so cool.
Wow.
And this one's in near mint. Yes,
That's
I've even
amazing.
got several other concerts. Well, as far as music goes, I've got concerts. If we want to talk about cards,
Well, we got
these are
it.
the
Yeah, so
Grateful
let's
Dead
do it.
backstage passes.
That's it. There we go.
Oh,
What
And
year's the
one of
backstage
these,
passes?
I'm trying to get my
so cool.
camera because I'm kind of cross-eyed here.
Yes,
One of
so-
these was for a concert after Jerry Garcia died, so the concert never actually happened. So they were never issued. And I was able to, the company still exists. I was able to call them up and talk to the person that made these back in the 90s and verify what they were used for, how they were made, and made sure they were real by how the backing is and things like that. Because it's actually a sticker. You peeled the adhesive backing up and you stuck it to your concert lanyard tag as your backstage pass. And then Led Zeppelin picture albums Doctor Strange is on. I've got those. Al Stewart albums with Doctor Strange on it. Even when he's mentioned in lyrics, I've got all those albums where he's mentioned in lyrics. So the music section is a very, very fun section. Not only that, like the Al Stewart stuff, I have the original Rolling Stone magazines that they were advertised in that shows the Doctor Strange album in the original Rolling Stones magazine. So I love the music stuff.
See,
Yeah, there you go.
This is why talking to you guys helps keep me in check and focus just on cards, because you could just go sound so, the rabbit hole is endless. It really is.
It is.
Just keeping with cards, it's a dangerous rabbit hole.
And people should
one more thing
know-
on stamps, if you're looking for the vintage stuff, these are
Nice.
the actual booklets that they came in for the Marvel stuff. There's a ton of them. They're really cool stuff.
So something you guys should know. Sorry, Don. I just want to let everybody know before they think this is all what you have to do for cards. Not you have to do anything. Don is a very much a collector, a character collector, which is what I had been growing up doing, which is just collect surfer stuff for a long time. Cards was always my main interest, and I abandoned it to go more 100% on cards because I just love cards so much. Don is one of the very few people, probably for every character, at least like tier A, tier B, there's maybe 2 or 3 people who really have a lock on a character collection, like at this kind of caliber. Music, all the different subjects, original art is kind of different because sometimes they go by artist names. But just so you guys know, that's kind of existing. The person for Surfer actually lives like 3 hours from me, like one of them who's pretty big, who's in Boone. Super nice guy. That was the whole video I did for selling him a mini master of Surfer cards. And he gave me the first appearance book graded because he had been dealing with those books for his whole life. But anyway, just so you guys know, when you go down on your rabbit holes, try to find the big fish for yourselves because they should help you out unless they're terrible people, but Don is not. But it's worth figuring out who these people are.
No, and if you're a Doctor Strange collector or just looking for vintage Marvel stuff and that's the whole purpose I've ever been on the internet and stuff like that, is to share stuff. It's I've never been one of those collectors where it's if I don't tell you about it, you won't know about it, and I'll have it, and you can't compete against me. In the trading cards, there's been kind of a boom the past year of people who are going heavy for Doctor Strange that have put a bite on my eBay bids, but I've never got a problem with that because it's all about the community and having fun and collecting and doing it. If I don't add another Doctor Strange item to my collection ever, I'll be really happy, and everybody else can have in on it. But
even within the 3 of us, we really do have 3 sort of different tiers here, right? Which is, Don, I wouldn't even call you a collector. You are an archivist is what you are. You are at the absolute top end of just literally everything to do with your character. Next, we've got Norin, who's like that, but hasn't had the years to sort of get to your level, but he collects things outside of cards. And then you've got me, where I really am just focused on cards and card art. So that's just sort of the different tiers you can go there. So I think,
and it's good to know, and what Matt's doing here, and which is very smart, and what you guys should all kind of do for yourselves is figure out what tier you're on, because, and it doesn't mean you can't move up and down, all that kind of good stuff, or reassess and all that stuff and curating. Like there was a great episode between Sabretooth and Matt here on Last Pack Magic called Curating Your Collection. And they went over this a little bit, but just so you know, kind of recognize where you are, figure out how far you want to go up, and find that sweet spot for yourself. Because eventually, and I'm not going to speak for both of you, but I'm going to speak for myself. Like right now, if I never get another Surfer card in my hand, I'm okay. I feel like I did a lot, and I feel really happy with my. I feel really happy with my collection. And maybe that's the insanity of me, because I'd love to continue to do this, but I'm happy with what I've collected over here because it's been so much work, and I kind of reflect on that. Figure out what tier you are. Figure out where you are with this.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I try to tell people, especially in some of the forums that. You're like the Facebook pages and that they're very specific. They're either comics, they're cards, or there's something like that. But I always try to squeak something kind of fringe in like the card things that are just almost a little out of bounds, just because you get tired sometimes. You get burnt out on cards, you get whatever, and there's absolutely no reason you should give up on it. But if you do something that's especially card adjacent, like the stickers or stamps or something that kind of is that same format, that same kind of size, can still fit into your boxes and things like that, there's nothing wrong with going down that side quest for a little while. Even though that's not a main passion or something you don't want to put a ton of money into, you can still play with that a little bit. One of the rarest things in my collection and the strangest thing in my collection, because I do collect things that aren't Doctor Strange. I do.
Yes.
I have always been a big fan of Thrawn when the first movies first came out. So I do a little side collection of Thrawn and vehicle cards, Star Wars.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
Stuff like that.
That's pretty smart.
Real pissed off with Upper Deck one year, or multiple times. But the one time I was like, I just need to stop. I need to find something else. So of course I went to Topps, which is just as worse. But did something a little bit different outside of my normal category, and that kind of refreshed me. So when I came back to the Strange cards, I had a little bit more oomph and enjoyment, when I came back. So
I feel like you and I did that. Was that around the same time when you and I did that?
Mando
yeah, I feel like you and I were like, I don't know, we like. You had left cards a little bit, and then we reconnected, and we realized we had both kind of like let me take a break here and collect this other character for a little while. Yeah, because I love my Mando collection a lot, and my Mando collection. Oh, I love those.
It's like the masterpiece art and stuff. That stuff. Once Topps owns it, they own the images. They can use it for whatever they wanted to, and they always throw it on other stuff. So even stuff going back to the foreign postage stamps, you run into your card art that you may enjoy, and you find it on a few other formatted stuff.
This is a cool one, and then I'll let Matt go next. But this is a little bit of a weird one that I had no idea even existed. This is a very cool card. I know Surfers in his box is very suggestive. I get it, but it's a very cool card because it's actually a card from a comic book store promoting its upcoming comic books, and it's signed by the artist they commissioned from 1992.
Nice.
Crazy.
I'm assuming
even
already
in the 90s, they even did the annual cards
too. For sale, right?
Say again, Matt.
I assume you've already asked him if the original art's for sale. I knew you did.
Yeah, I called the store and they were still open. And I was like, can you give me the artist and everything like that? And it ended up being a dead end, unfortunately. I contacted the artist. Nothing ever came of it. But I've only seen this one example ever. Cool. Like I saw it on eBay. It was signed just coincidence. And they were like, I'm not sure where this came from, but I've had it forever. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Because it was just a crazy thing to find.
I was following up on one piece, and I found out the guy died 20 years earlier. So it was I was way behind, so who knows where that piece ended up at, or if it was in a burn pile somewhere, but yeah.
How about you, Matt?
How about what?
Gotta see this thing you're teasing.
I definitely want to talk about, using HeroClix as an example. I want to talk about different ways to do some searches. just because I think some tips around that are always helpful for people.
I'm in.
Just to show how you can go down those various rabbit holes.
I think that's awesome. If you want to share your screen or whatever
Sure.
you want to talk about.
Right.
Yeah. So like if Don, I have some tips on my end, things I look at. But yeah, let's go down. So let's do a little tip section here. So basically when you're hunting for cards and you're looking for this stuff, and Matt's going to show you now how you can kind of stumble across things and get you further deep into this. So Matt, tell us about this.
So obviously eBay is always going to be your first stop, right? And just doing eBay searches featuring your character's name, and just going through them all, whether you just look under the card section or more broadly across eBay. Sometimes just looking at the card section under trading card singles is easier because you get fewer results and you don't have to search through so much noise. But that can work against you, and I think I'll show an example of that when we go. So, but let's use this as an example, which is first off, like I said, I got a Danny Moonstar card, and it's obviously, she's on it, so that's a no-brainer. But then I realized, well, there's art on the back of these cards. So I said, well, there are probably other characters who who are like that. So, first thing I said was, all right, well, let me just see what's out there for Moonstar cards, right? So I did that for Danny Moonstar, and I said, all right, well, who are some adjacent characters? So I said, well, all right, well, how about Cannonball, right? He's in the New Mutants. He was in the very beginning with her. So let's just look for Cannonball. Like, okay, well, there's the figures, and here's a character, and I'm going on the image page, by the way. I'm not going on the main Google. I'm switching right here to images just because it's easier. And my thought is, all right, well, let's see if I can see one that shows the back, because typically on the front you just see the character, but on the back's where that comic is. So you're looking at these results, and they're all showing the front. So you just kind of keep scrolling, and you're hoping, oh, all right, what's going on here? That looks like the back of one. Let's see what's going on here. So you click it. Oh, look at this. This is this HeroClix number 22 of Cannonball in his Hellions outfit has a New Mutants issue on the back, and I know Danny's right there. So, okay, great. Now I know this one has the back. So then, all right, well, where is this one from? What is this link? All right, it's an eBay link. That's not really going to help me. So I know I could find that on eBay. But what I want to do is I want to look for others that show the back. Aha, okay, what is this? This is a different version of Cannonball with a different New Mutants on the back. So, okay, and there's Danny. So I no need to get that. But here's the other thing. I look and I say, hey, this figures.com shows the back with the whole image. So I wonder if they're worth looking into as a way to, cut some time out of this search. So I say, okay, what if I looked at just HeroClix, but I force it to look only at site:/figures.com. What that does is that says, look for this word HeroClix, but only on this website that we know shows the front and back. All right, well, let's see what happens. And all right, that didn't, okay, so there's a lot of toys. All right, what if we then say, all right, that didn't work. What if I look at HeroClix card? And, oh, okay, we got to look at this. So now I see a ton of different characters with the front and back on it. And I can look through. All right, well, oh, look, Cypher. Cypher's a New Mutant. Click on that. Oh, there's a New Mutants. And there's Danny right there. I know I've got to get the Cypher card. Right? And it's just a quick way to sort of cut through all the noise. And like, all right, Scorn, no. Cable maybe, but I can see it's just him on the cover. Gwen Stacy, no. You just keep going down, looking for characters who are adjacent to your character. Let me just see if I can find any others with here. Here's a different Cypher with a different New Mutants cover and a different Danny Moonstar. Okay, now I need this Cypher HeroClix toy. And it just cuts a lot of time out when you find a site that has the data you want and just using this little trick here to only search on that site. Because again, this site is putting them together with the front and back, whereas most of them, as you saw before, back here, don't, right? It's very rare to see, you always see the front of the card, but very rarely the back. So using Norn as an example, okay, well, if we do HeroClix Surfer, right? All right, well, all of these you've probably seen on eBay. And even on the cards where you can only see the front, well, he's already on the front. So you know that, right? So that doesn't help you. But what if we go to some adjacent ones? What if we say, okay, well, Surfer, he's a Herald of Galactus. Let's look at Galactus. And then we scroll down, and we do see a lot of them. A lot of them not showing the back, though. Actually, this one here does. You see the front, and the back is just a picture of the statue, so that doesn't help. We could have looked on that site, that figures.com. I was there, but let's just use this for example. We keep going down. Okay, Galactus, we're only seeing the front. We can't see the back of that one. That looks like a pretty good one to look at the back of, but we just keep going and going. And then all of a sudden you go, what is this thing right here? What exactly is this? Marvel Zombies Galactus the Devour expansion game. And you look at this list here. What does that say right there? What does that say? 8 Silver Surfer cards. 8 Zombie Silver Surfer cards. That's interesting. On a Kickstarter set? 16 Surfer cards in one set? Huh.
See, Don, this is why I'm not friends with Matt. He told me to bring him on, and I said, no, Don, this is not my friend. Oh, my God.
But this goes along the exact same lines as Dice Throne that started on Kickstarter and some of those other things that will have all your that has all those cards too. But I like what Matt brought up about if you've got, especially for these fringe things like HeroClix and stuff where you're kind of going to the side, if you need to have comic book knowledge, and if you don't, you need to have a friend that has comic book knowledge, because exactly the groups, it's like Surfer. You want to search Defenders. You want to search, and if you know the comics, when you've got a little tiny thumbnail, you know what the what the cover actually is, and you know if your character is actually on the front of it. It helps you out so much farther down the line if you've got that little bit of extra knowledge, because
I really
all the cards come from the comics one way or another.
Yeah, and I hate to say this because I don't like saying definitive statements, but I think you'll find it very difficult to be a master collector of a character in any genre, cards, comic books, action figures, whatever, if you don't have the basis knowledge of the comic books, the appearances, the team appearances. Like, I find this stuff so much easier and faster, kind of like when Matt knew that comic book. You can show that comic book to Matt, 3 blocks away, and the man can still see it. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind. I mean, that's a crazy example, but he'd be able to see that cover immediately. It helps
and having
out
friends like that, because Doctor Strange has been in a lot of X-Men comics.
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
So if I know if I had a question on something, or if I didn't have that comic and I thought he might be in there, Matt would be the first person I'd send a message to and say, hey,
look at this. I mean, I was talking to Sydney, who's a Wolverine collector, and he said he thought he saw a Silver Surfer cut in X-Men Metal, and I don't think it's there, but he was like, because they did the Phoenix book, and I forgot that Surfer had one freaking panel in that book, and he knew it, and I saw it, and I was like, oh man, and then he had this great backstory, and I read into it, and it's just a really awesome kind of tidbit, but you're never going to have all the knowledge. The community is the number one way to build a collection to a size that Matt and myself and Don have at this point. Otherwise, it ain't going to happen.
Absolutely.
And if you're going to go to that level of obsession where you're going with the characters that are on the back, you really need to go through any character who is in an issue where your character appears on the cover. And some are obvious. Like I said, Wolfsbane, she's in the New Mutants. That's New Mutants 1. That's easy. Cypher, he was in there. So she's there. That's easy. But even some where this guy Rusty, who was in some of these later New Mutants issues, right? I don't even think she was in the issue, but she's still in the corner box, right? So you really have to look at the entire run of a series, even when your character doesn't feature in them, to be able to catch some of these things. But there's also great sites for that too. If you don't have all the issues, fandom.com, you can literally go issue by issue through your books and figure out, okay, who are the protagonists, who are the antagonists, and you could spend hours and hours and hours chasing these down. I've got about 15 more coming in the mail.
Yep, and that's the fun of it. At least for me, that's the fun of it. And that's the long-term fun.
And now, more importantly, Danny can fight the goats.
Now she has control. Now she has minions. So this is called Troll and Toad. If you don't know, if you're a TCG gamer, you definitely know what this is, but they have a bunch of fun stuff. Yep. Back and forward pictures here. Usually, this is the first HeroClix I got of Surfer. It's a chromed out limited edition one. Did not come with a card, but I have the hero thing. But I did not get the card. Some of these cards and figures get expensive. Like this is a really kick. Yeah, Carnage Silver Surfer is a major thing that happens. A beautiful piece, but it's always very expensive.
Yeah. And there's a lot of limited, or there's a lot of ones that are purposely just like cards. You know, they're very, very limited. And I've had the unlucky run of having a few Doctor Stranges that were pretty severely limited. They get pretty pricey.
This is another. Yeah, they're very cool. I mean, I like them personally. Also, this is another kicker. Category 1 games. I've talked about this side in the past because they were extremely helpful to me. Oh gosh. Versus System started in 07.
The Versus?
Huh? 04.
Versus are great.
Yeah, Versus are great. Or am I thinking 04? I think I'm thinking 04. Yeah, I am. So Marvel Superhero Squad is another one. Don, I'm sure you've had that run.
There's Heroes Attacks.
I'm going to show you guys something now. So something to know about the TCG game cards. These can be extraordinarily difficult to really lock down. Oh, since I'm here, here's something you guys should see. These are playing cards. Let me get out of here so you guys can see. Well, you guys can't see me, but let me move this. Let me show you guys something. There are hero cards just before we move on to stuff.
Yeah, we should definitely make sure we tell people all the other sets we know of. Like we already talked about a lot of the foreign sets earlier. I think talking about all the TCG sets that they could chase is definitely going to be helpful.
It's going to be really helpful. And I think I'm just restarting my camera.
Helpful in oh my God, where did my money go kind of way.
Yeah, that I would be definitely careful with.
Legendary 3D is probably one of the biggest ones in terms of Marvel. Because there must be 50 expansions by now, and you can usually find them pretty easily just by searching that name and your character. It's ones where your character might be in the background that it's a challenge. Like this one's Demon Bear, but she's in it. So, okay, well, you got to know to look for that. And, is it a generic New Mutants card? Or how about it's Sunspot, and that's her silhouette facing him, right? I mean, do you want to go on some of these? But Legendary is a great one to look at.
Legendary is a great one. There's playing cards, Ultimate Alliance. These are great. Also check out playing cards. Playing cards are big. For Category 1 games, when you're looking up your character, this is fun, Matt.
Oh, yeah. That's so cool.
And it lights up.
It's got LED. That's wild.
I want that. So for Versus System or any other kind of TCG stuff, not only are there going to be game cards, there's also going to be cards that are not named. So this one was very difficult to find. They called it the B team, which is usually the Defenders. Strange is on it. Surfer and Strange are in a lot of images together.
What series is that?
Versus System.
Which
it is 2000 and I'm getting old. 7. Yeah, 7. Wish my dumb camera was working. And it's not working. Sorry, guys.
So we also got, did you say Overpower yet?
Nope.
Overpower. Major Overpower, yeah.
Then you got some weird ones like this.
Earth X, Alex Ross. That's so good.
That was a comp where you could turn it in or you could enter a competition to get a Hulk comic book. So on the back, you basically have a code for your chance to win a original 1962 Hulk #1. But it was advertisement for the game, for the trading card game. So promos, obviously we have promos in regular trading cards too, but you also have them in card game cards and stuff like that.
Yeah. Also, if your character's been in a movie, which all three of us here has been in a movie, you need to look up lobby cards. And you need to look at phone cards, and you need to look at lenticulars and promotional cards for the film. Put the film name, not your character's name. and then put the year the movie came out. So I found this one totally on a fluke, which is a lenticular.
Oh, nice.
Which is really cool. Rise of the Silver Surfer Fantastic Four. And it has no other information on there than Marvel and Fox 2007. So you need to search the studio names as well, which is something I found out later. So look at the date for your release movie. Go one forward, one back, and then the date, and then put the studio name too on eBay. And you'd be surprised. I found some really crazy things that I didn't think existed because of that.
The other thing for movies is DVD releases come with trading cards.
Yes, my man.
I don't have that book with me, but I do have a larger formatted. These are almost lobby card size cards for Thor. But I've got probably 6 Doctor Strange sets or 6 sets that Doctor Strange is in them that have come out in the DVDs where they had trading cards in the DVDs.
Gino is another one. I'm just listing stuff off now. Gino is another one that was pretty tough. We
got Hero Attacks, Marvel Superhero Squad Online.
That's a great one.
And then some of them, like they were saying, this card has nothing to do, really doesn't have Doctor Strange on it or anything like that. But the trick is the hourglass trick, and it's got Doctor Strange's name right under it. So it's a power for that, but it has nothing to do. Those are harder ones to find or to come across, and that's just trolling eBay and other things, just going card by card trying to find that stuff.
Yep. That's a really big one as well.
Spider-Man Heroes and Villains.
Yes, let me put you on.
That's a good Kevin Nolan.
Nice foiling on those. They're a little taller than a standard trading card, but they're very nice.
And then you got the Marvel Dimension Zero Hero.
I don't know that one.
That's a great. The foiling on this one is really cool.
Yeah.
And then
I've seen
there's
that.
another one with great foiling from that same set. Again, a foreign trading card set.
Yeah, I only found mine because the seller knew who the character was and listed Moonstar. Otherwise, I never.
Damn.
And that was 2014 for the cards that I have.
2014. I'm trying to think of some more modern foreign cards.
That's awesome.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Here's a good one.
Uh-oh.
This was interesting.
Then you got legendary cards.
Legendary is awesome.
2015 versus
Parody cards are massive, and they do a bunch of weird names. Don, what year was that, the parody?
Which 2014.
That's right. 2014. This was fun. So the Garbage Pail Kids, they had an artist on there who drew Marvel characters on sketch cards. They're not easy to find, but this was one of those kind of rare finds. And I want to show you it. Oh, another one that happened that was kind of cool. And another really good tidbit. Make sure you look up your... So this is going to seem like overkill. I'm so sorry, guys, if I'm driving you guys insane. Make a list of all of the artists who've drawn your character.
Yep.
And then search for that artist and look for autograph cards. I found this, which I didn't know it existed.
Oh, wow.
It's Witchblade. There's 3 variants to this. On the back, it says the books he worked on. And of course, text on there says Silver Surfer. Never would have found this unless I was looking up the artists and just looked at writers and artists and looked up autographs. Because you'd be surprised with Rittenhouse and a bunch of other companies how they were smart enough to utilize those on-card autographs kind of early on. So just so you guys know, that was a pretty obscure find for me. Even me, that was pretty obscure.
And that's a good point that Marvel has done crossovers. They've done DC, where Doctor Strange has been in DC comic books before. For trading cards, 97 Marvel versus Wildstorm.
Yes,
And
that's a good
then I can never pronounce this name. Amalgam. Yeah, that's it. It's like your teeth amalgam. What they did is they crossed DC and Marvel superheroes. So of course in DC they've got Fate, Dr. Fate. So they did Doctor Strange Fate and combined the two characters in a set. And they kind of did that throughout the set. So that was in 96 for Amalgam.
Yep. And here's the sketch card I was telling you about, which is ridiculous. But it's actually modeled after the actual parody card, the actual Garbage Pail Kid. And Joe Smith is, not Smith, Simcoe is a pretty big artist for Garbage Pail Kids. And this was
Simcoe, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, so this was a bidding war. I had no idea about it. First, it's very well. It looks like a regular card. It's done very well, but that was also a really interesting find for me too. So there's another one.
I mean, and the thing is, like, you learn all sorts of stuff in having these conversations. So let me show you an example, because again, we're always learning, right? So Norrin suggested that, and then I was like, oh, that's a good point. Like, oh, look at this. A Bob McLoud graded business card with Danny Moonstar.
No! Did that literally just happen?
So,
yes!
Yeah, there we go.
Go ahead and take care of that.
Exactly. Little live action right there. Oh, look, they call me Matthew. If you didn't know that. There we go. Oh, no,
Nice.
don't see my accounts.
I think I got something I need to tonight.
That's amazing.
That's
awesome. I can't believe that just happened. That's
Thank
so
you.
cool.
So live happening here.
In 2020, they had Contest of Champions, and they did a ton of stuff for this game. There's trading cards for it. There was stuff that there was arcade machines at like Dave and Buster's. I've actually got the full stand-up cardboard of the Strange from this. They use the 3D looking art for a lot of stuff. So if your character was in Contest of Champions, there's a ton of stuff you might be able to find in the Contest.
I don't know if Surfer was in it. I'm having a really hard time with that set. Because I don't know if Surfer was in it, because I feel like I saw an ad with him in it, and he's in it, but I don't know if there was a card. So I got to keep looking for that. That was something that keeps coming up for me, and I can't seem to. I don't think they ever did make a card of it. Not that I could find. So,
wait. In recent years,
Hunting card set. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Schwartz, as far as trading card games, have come out with some really great cards. Again, it's really hard, especially when this set came out back in 21. I couldn't find an English checklist to save my life, so there was nothing I could do about it. And then in 22, Hero Battle Series 1, they got some sweet cards.
Damn.
The foiling puts U.S. companies to shame.
Yep.
It's a shame. It's really a shame because they do so many more different things on the foiling for foreign countries, like textures in there. It's just not a foil paper. It feels like there's so much more texture and dimension to it.
And that's that Disney 100. They're doing a great job with their foilings and stuff.
I haven't seen them in hand. I'm really waiting for them to do non-MCU Disney 100 and get characters in there. I feel like that's just going to be over the top amazing.
Oh, you mean Disney movies?
Well, no, Disney like it uses like comic book images. Oh, are they never going to do that? They're going to do that. They'll do that. Maybe. I don't know.
From that company, I don't know. I don't know. Because the Disney 100 is also has the series, also has all the cartoon characters, the trading cards for all the cartoon characters. And if you haven't seen those are cool looking.
I have to look
down, but all there's a Disney 100 Marvel, and there's a Disney 100 that's a classical Disney 100, and they're putting them on the same types of cards, modern cards. They're pretty cool if you want to look up like Bambi and shit like that.
I do want to look that up. Hey Matt, what's up, man? We got a really good collector here. Awesome guy. You guys will meet him soon enough. Very cool. Hey TJ. Hey Christopher. What's going on, everybody? So glad you guys are in here. Oh, that was a good idea. That was good. Oh, you know what, Don? I was going to ask you, what about convention attendee badges type of thing? Mm-hmm. I just got my first server one. I don't know if I've ever seen any other ones, but that's really fun. The badges are really cool.
Is it an official badge for that con, or is it a generic plastic badge? Because they make both. You can get generic people printed with the lanyards and that, but then you want to look out for the actual convention ones.
No, this is legit badge. It's from the OAX that we just went to.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, you probably had a hand in that, though. You're like, hey, you got to throw.
I wish. It's just pure stupid coincidence. It's all scratched up too.
You know, I've got conventions are a huge thing for depending on which convention it is. You'll get a lot of exclusives like Funko Pops and stuff like that. But sometimes you'll get stuff that's more card related. I've got a program from the very first Marvel convention. And things like that are pretty cool to look back through. And it's got like a gallery picture because everybody showed up to that. You know, if you were anybody in the comics industry, you were at those conventions, and it wasn't like if you ever went to a convention before, let's say 95, it was a much better experience. You didn't have to pay $300 to get a picture with somebody. You could get as many stuff as you wanted signed. You just walked up and talked to people, and it was a much different experience when it comes to conventions. Now you literally have to budget for it, and if you want a picture, that you have to pay the $300, $500, $800, and they run you through like cattle to get your picture taken in and out, and it's not a fun experience at all. Sometimes I'll run across something that's fun, but I had Lou Ferrigno yell at me one time for walking by with my cell phone and taking a picture of him at his table. He's like, "You got to pay for that." I'm like, "Okay, Lou,
come get me for it."
Yeah, I don't want to get hit by you, but I'm pretty sure I can outrun you at this point. So, even though I just turned 54 yesterday, but I think I can still outrun you.
Man, that's crazy to think about that. I never got a chance to go to a con before that at all, before 95 at all. I've seen all those pamphlets though. Marvel Mania is a big one as well.
I got tons of Marvel Mania stuff over there.
Marvel Mania is big
stuff. That stuff can get expensive depending on what you're looking for. But the stationery and stuff like that, you can kind of pick up for a reasonable price sometimes. But some of that Marvel Mania stuff is very expensive. Tarot cards. I love tarot cards. Yeah. So if you see down here, I had not removed the original sticker for $13.94. That's what I paid for this deck.
Oh, you're so lucky.
So
and that's the rare one, right? That's the canvas, right? The bubble, the texture.
Yes, and that's my favorite one. I don't have the other set. There's a red set. That's a gloss. That's more of a gloss or a regular card set, and there's also a book that comes with them too. From Spain. You really have to. These show up on eBay as singles because somebody ends up finding a pack and then they'll single them out on eBay. But to get some of the book that goes with it and that, you're probably gonna have to find somebody in Spain or Italy or somewhere over there to pop them up. But the Doctor Strange card is so killer.
Oh, so killer! I love that Doctor, and it's on the back of every card, right?
Every card, yes, it is. Nice. But just for people that don't know or just found out about these, there's actually two sets. There's this set, which is a matte set, which I like better. This is my favorite set. The red set is much rarer and more expensive. You have a really hard time coming across those. And just depending on where you find them. But there is
it is. Well, the one's limited. One's actually has a number edition. Yeah, I forgot what the number edition is.
Because and those originally, I think most of them came with the book and that too, but that stuff just gets lost or split up, over time. So you have a really hard time finding those things. But Doctor Strange has been in a few tarot sets, but this one by far is the coolest damn set ever.
That's pretty cool.
I'm still here. I'm just getting something.
Digging. So many just.
So you want to talk about one-on-ones?
So, oh wow, that's awesome.
So my friend Greg Dawson, who's a big Ghost Rider collector, he made for a group of his character card collectors a few years back. He made personalized cards and then put our faces on them.
That's awesome.
That's pretty funny.
You gotta do something like that. That's sick.
There's been Marvel Monopolies sets over the years, and if you go back, some of the Marvel stuff gets back to the 80s. Usually, when the board games and stuff like that, and the Monopoly, you can early 90s, late 80s, you start kind of running into some of that stuff. I've got a bunch of those types of gaming cards that come in, not trading card games, but just card games like Uno. Obviously, a lot of people know about the Uno set that came out 2 years
You
ago.
have to look up. You have to look up the name of the game board, and the best way to find if your character's in there is to look at product photos of that game. So look at game sets, and then put Marvel. I found this one, which I had found and took a while to find a single piece of.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
1975.
Yep. And that's actually one of the very first ones. Finding that set in a box, a complete set of that in near mint, is extremely rare. Because people who buy them now, they break them up and sell the cards like you bought, but they don't know the value of the entire set.
I had to overpay for this one a little bit, but I'd never seen one this clean outside of the box. It just wasn't going to happen. So I had to make the decision. But there you go. That's a good, pretty good run. So let's why are you hurting people? You know you can't release this all on people at once.
So I'll do one more and I'll shut up. So some people collect the boxes that the cards come in. I usually do if Doctor Strange is on the box, but I try to do it. But the vintage boxes, I try to get the vintage stuff. But when I'm a big production run guy, I like getting you've seen my Bloom Line proofs, you've seen my artist proofs of the 70s trading cards and stuff like that. I don't know if I showed you this one before. So for the Comic Heroes sticker set, they did some test runs that were basically what they did is they printed some of the cards out, they cut them up, they put them in white wrappers, wax packs, and this is actually the sticker that they would just stick on the wax pack as their trial, as they're testing the art out, before they spent the money to actually print the wax pack wrappers that would look stuff like this back in the day when you got the bubble gum, in there and stuff like that. Before they actually printed the wax paper wrapping, they actually just printed stickers of their art and they'd stick it on the white wax pack wrapper for that. So this is even stuff where you can just kind of blow by something on eBay or on an auction house thinking it's just a wax pack or something like that, when it's actually something more significant if you don't look at the descriptions. You always, especially the vintage stuff, always look at the descriptions, because you might not know really what the picture is or what the picture is of. So
no, 100%. Like there's so many things. Also, too, it's good just to have that information in the back of your head, especially character collecting. Like I don't think you're ever going to be in a bad spot learning about a set, even if your character's not in it, because your character could be like in the year after or the year before, or whatever the case may be. And understanding that like description and that kind of knowledge. Like I've met a lot of people on eBay who are really like hardcore vintage Marvel people, like to the point of they know everything and anything about a top set. I met this very nice gentleman who I should email. Actually, it's been a while since I've spoken to them. And they were like the expert on tops 97, 75th, 76. 1975, 1976, and they knew it from top to bottom. The way the sticker was on there, the acetate, they understood that sucker up and down, and they had all this information and presentation tools, all things I tried to give to CGC so they would grade some variations of those, which is still ongoing. But phenomenal person, learned a lot of information. Surfer doesn't necessarily have those variants, but to be honest with you, it's really good to understand how the production of these things go. Because it'll help you kind of be, that's so cool.
That's because I do the same thing. The reason why, because I liked these vintage sets, I got every single wax pack variant because they have different advertising on the edge of the wax pack. So I got every one of the variants that have the different advertising on it. And the stuff that's on here actually can help you out. The information that's on here just gives you a tremendous amount of research and information that you wouldn't have before. It's like people buy omnibuses of comic books because they're easier to read. You wait till the event is over and then buy the Blood Hunt omnibus when it eventually comes out, so you can read the entire story with all the comics compiled, but it doesn't have the advertisements and stuff in it. And especially for vintage comics, all that extra info is very important. So if I've got a graded a CGC slab Doctor Strange comic, I always have a reader comic, not an omnibus for it. I have an actual reader copy. That way I can flip back and see Doctor Strange, but there's still a mystery item that I haven't seen, and a couple of my favorite or my fellow high-end Doctor Strange collectors have never seen, and it's a Doctor Strange belt buckle from way long time ago. It was advertised in the comic book. We have the advertisement. We know it was there. We know that it was sold. I saw a talk with somebody who actually had an original one in box, but none of us have actually ever seen another one ever. So those are our kind of grail things, and we don't know about those really cool grail things unless we dig through the research material, and that's the comic books. That's the promo advertised, the promo cards that when card sets come out and things like that. So, yep. Wow. If anybody knows where one of those buckles is at, let me know. I'll pay your rent for the month.
Oh gosh, man, that's really cool. Well, because like my experience with finding the old comic books being so vital to not only building a collection but just learning more about like Surfer and stuff, as dorky as that is, was the letters to the editor and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, Matt and I had a great conversation about this. Matt's a genius for what he ended up doing with that stuff, but like the letters, sometimes people would ask questions like, oh, how did you make the issue? Or what made you decide to do this? And you'll find some keen insight from some of the top editors, drawers, artists, writers of that time period, just writing back to fans, and they published it there. I remember when we spoke to, oh my God, who was she, Matt? She's responsible. She has a character of herself in She-Hulk. Renee, something with a W.
Oh God. Yes.
She's on one of the Marvel editor cards, and she worked in the bullpen, and she had tons of insight into things, but she was also part of putting out the fan letters and the fan magazines back in the day. So she had tons of really interesting things that they would do for fans and promotional materials and stuff. So it was really cool to find these kind of names and people.
It's silly. It's like they used to have the advertisement for the little monkeys you could buy in the comic book.
Oh, the sea monkeys, yeah.
Yeah, and not sea monkeys, the actual real little mini monkey.
Yeah,
and so I was like, that's freaking interesting. I wonder if that was ever a thing. So I went and researched it. The person that was responsible for selling those monkeys was Stan Lee's wife. It was an actual thing. They actually sold them. They issued those, and it was Stan Lee's wife that had her hand in putting that in. So that was just really cool. But another thing to that point is the fanzines from the 70s and 80s and even the 60s. The interviews in the fanzines have a ton of information. It's like, everybody's like, well, who created Doctor Strange? Well, it was Steve Ditko and Stan Lee. Absolutely not. Stan Lee had nothing to do with Doctor Strange. It was all Steve Ditko, and you could actually go back and find an interview Stan Lee did. It's like, yeah, Steve came up with this character. I don't think it's going to work. We're going to put it in as a side story, and they mentioned Strange Tales. So he was even shit talking the character back in the day. But if you don't know Stan Lee and how he interacts with the comics, he was a salesman. He put that company where it was, and Stan Lee invented everything if you ever asked him. But he's a very integral person and stuff like that. But when it came to Doctor Strange, he absolutely did not create Doctor Strange. It was Steve Ditko and Steve Ditko himself that came up with the concept. He had input into the art after the first couple stories ran. He had input with the everything else from then on. But it was straight up Steve that did it. And you wouldn't know about that stuff unless you went back in the day when people were just talking in interviews and during stuff in the letters to the editor and the little blurbs they put in the back of the comic books.
Yeah. I mean, you just wouldn't. It's amazing. So we're at an hour, so we're gonna come into landing a little bit. Matt, talk to me a little bit, man.
I just had so many rabbit holes I wanted to go down, but I'll
I keep seeing
give us one more
screen pop up blue every once in a while. I was like, Matt's he's in it. Matt's deep in it now.
I'm like, how deep do I want to go in some of this? Like, and again, like I somehow ended up with Marvel Crunch and Munch cards is where I currently ended up. And I know that well before Danny would be there, but just like so many, like, and I was curious. I'm like, was Doctor Strange ever on a cereal box?
Wimpy cards. Oh, I have a lot of. I've got Doctor Strange lunch bags. I got Doctor Strange lingerie.
Oh, I got that's cool.
But
Don't show it
Wimpy
to us.
cards is another food related card. There are a few different food related cards and food store cards that
There are a lot of food, or there's a lot of food Marvel stuff, a lot of food.
The old bread cards, the old.
Yeah. So here's one. Watch this. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna say something to Don now. He's gonna laugh. All right, Don. I'm gonna say two words. Combo
Shut
Man.
up.
No, not at all. You rock. Continue talking is the other two words. Combo Man.
Combo Man. That sounds familiar.
There you go. You know why? There's a card called Combo Man. It's from a food product called Combo Man, and he's literally assembled of other superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 cards, and if you look at it, you could see a different part of every character. I think Strange is one of them. I know Surfer is, because it took me forever to find the card.
They've unfortunately done that quite a few times, and I'm not a big fan of it.
No.
They just did Venom #1, the new Venom miniseries. They've got basically a mosaic of different Venomized characters, and one shard is Doctor Strange. So of course I had to buy it, even though he's not really on the cover or in the. I've got comic books that just have the tiny tip of the Cloak of Levitation in it, and that's all that's in the frame. So that's
I have cards like
guest
that.
Appearance section, yeah.
Yeah, the cards are torturous for sure. Matt's already found a bunch of tiny Danny Moonstars. I don't even know how you found half of those, man. It's so amazing. I think you showed me something once where I just saw the arrow, and I was like, "That's it," or a pigtail. It was something, and I was like, "That's pretty amazing."
One of the Dangerous Steve is what they did.
That's it
on the back, and one cutoff just had like her ponytail. Yeah.
I was so mad at you. I was like, "Damn, he's so good at this."
So the hard part about Strange sometimes is he's drawn. The head is drawn exactly like Iron Man. A lot of 80s, a lot of early 90s. It's the same mustache, hair, face. So you have to really look to see if it's Tony Stark or if it's Doctor Strange, if you can't see the corners of the cloak popping up, or if he's not in the Doctor Strange
costume, on the crop
tuxedo, like one of the wedding issues or something like that. You really have to try to figure it out. And then the other thing too is I've seen eBay listings where they're eBaying something as a Doctor Strange card, and it's actually Dracula because they see the red cloak.
Oh, that's a good one.
And then because originally when Doctor Strange was drawn initially, he was very Asian too. He was not straight up Caucasian that he represents today. But yeah, so Tony Stark and Doctor Strange, I have to look a lot in some of the 80s and 90s stuff to figure out if it's Doctor Strange or Tony Stark.
Well, Matt gets this a lot with Danny Moonstar, right, Matt? If you want to let people know what that's like, because I know you have Mirage and what we just had with Karma.
Yeah. So Danny's got. You have to know all your characters' aliases over the years. So Danny was originally, I think originally she was Psyche. Then she was Mirage.
Oh wow.
She was Moonstar. And then she didn't change her name, but she was a Valkyrie for a while. So you sometimes have to search there. So you need to sort of know that whole history. And that's another one where fandom.com is a great research, because typically when you look at the character, it has all of their aliases listed out.
That's a good one. That's actually really great. I didn't realize about Psyche. Surfer doesn't get confused with anyone. He's so well drawn. No one thinks of any other character when they see Surfer. I don't know. Yeah,
I got
nobody I know.
It's getting icy in here, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels a bit cold. Okay, we're an hour and 13 minutes. We've done a great job. If you didn't learn anything this episode, you weren't listening. There are a lot of obscure finds we just talked about. I appreciate everybody who's been here. Oh, Beyonder. Yeah, that's right. Sydney's here. Sydney, we talked about you a little bit earlier with the Wolverine collection. Ryan, hey, buddy. So crazy amount of information, obscure finds. I hope you've all enjoyed this. We're going to do a part 2.
You got to do it too. Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to do it too, because there's so much more to talk about. As crazy that might actually sound that came out of my mouth, but it's true. There is a part 2 to all this. What else? Okay, so let's do parting words, and then we'll key it down. Don, some parting words to our future character collectors or current character collectors out there.
The obscure stuff or the adjacent stuff is a fun diversion. Even if you're not going to hit it hard or anything like that, and if you see something cool pop up and it relates to your guy, just pick it up. And also because it's something good to display with your collection. I don't care if you've got 3 Doctor Strange items and you got a single shelf. If you've got a few cards, put them out so you can see them at a regular basis. And buy a little statue, a little 6-inch Doctor Strange or bust or something like that to complement the little display or your little curation, and get them out to see. And that's one of the reasons why I moved from almost all my collection was in one touches. I spent a fortune on one touches, especially during COVID when you couldn't get them and you had to pay up for them.
I remember.
But I made this custom maple card drawer, hardwood card drawer that I kept them all in, and it was cool. But I found I never went into the drawers very often. So I'm switching for the standard size card stuff. I'm switching a lot of them back to binders now because they finally came out with binders that are clear on both sides and not Pokemon binders and stuff like that. So you can actually see both sides, because that's the biggest drawback for binders for the whole time is you can only see one side of the card. So get them out, enjoy your collection, look at the shit. Don't keep it in a box in your basement or in your closet. And if you don't have a big space to display stuff, which most people don't, put a little shelf up and rotate stuff in and out.
That's what I do.
Yep, absolutely.
Rotate. And rotating is really great for keeping the excitement out too. And I keep like one part of the display case for only stuff that I'm hunting or stuff that I'm currently into, because that way it kind of nice reminder. I don't get all bent out of shape when I don't get something. I'm like, oh, you know what? I have that there. That was really cool. So rotates within the rotating of your display thing for sure.
And one last thing to finish up the side stuff. If we do a part 2 and it ends up being next year, there's going to be an entire Marvel Magic the Gathering set.
That's going to be. I know.
Huge.
I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know how good it's going to be, but
I don't know how good it's going to be. I don't know if it's only like one universe of things or Marvel in general. I'm hoping Marvel in general, but it's going to be. That's going to be another pretty big crossover.
Wizards of the Coast doesn't put out tiny runs of stuff. It's going to be huge.
It's going to be a massive piece for sure. Matt, parting words for us, buddy.
Understand. Mine's always going to be a warning. Understand where your head is in terms of collecting, especially in terms of like completionist and honestly even like OCD, because this is a dangerous rabbit hole. I mean, we've joked about it, but it can be really, really dangerous because you can drop money left and right. So really take a step back and figure out a big picture of where you want your collection to go, right? Have a goal in mind. Don't just grab and, okay, we'll figure it out later down the line. Try to decide what you want to do and then try to decide how you're going to get there in terms of what you're going to collect, and try to really stick to the plan. It is very easy to be like, oh my God, Don mentioned belt buckles. I got to go look at belt buckles. And I've got 10 belt buckles. I'm like, wait, this isn't what I wanted. You know what I mean? So just understand yourself more than anything and what you want to do and realistically what you can do, right? This hobby is not cheap at times. So never go beyond your means. That goes for any collecting. Just, and I'd say more than anything, make sure you're having fun, right? I think Don's comment about not looking at them when they're in the box is key, right? Collect this stuff so that it's more than just a check mark on a piece of paper. If it's not bringing you joy, don't collect it. That simple.
I agree. And I think what's nice about this episode too, as you could see us, all three of us geeking out here on camera, the obscure finds is kind of like, it's weird how an obscure find can be just as satisfying as like a super rare one-off production piece. Like there are things in my collection that I found or someone told me about that was a foreign card, something completely rando. I had no idea existed. And I geeked out of it just as much as a card that would cost me 20 times more than with this little obscure piece of object that I found from in my character collection. And the reason Don says pick it up, obviously price in your mean, but the reason Don says pick it up is because sometimes you don't have the knowledge that we have, or we don't even have the knowledge that we have, or maybe you didn't hear this. So when you see something, you're like, oh, that's cool. It's like $5. It has my character on it. It's whatever. It must not be obscure enough or rare enough because it's cheap. Don't do that. If you find it interesting and you haven't seen it before and you have that red flag that goes up, obviously price in mind, the best bet is just to grab it. I will say this as a fair warning to obscure finds. The biggest hurdle you're going to find, we're going to wrap it up after this because I know I've kept you guys for an hour and 20. I'm sorry. And I'm a terrible person. Custom cards are going to be more. There are going to be a lot more custom cards out there, and they're going to get a lot more prevalent. You need to be very careful about that. Don mentioned it earlier, and Matt mentioned too. Email the seller, see how much full of shit they are, and see, you know what I mean, if they know what they have and stuff like that, or they're just trying to have a little printer in the corner of the room and they're printing stuff off, making binders, cards, whatever they're doing. So be careful of that stuff. People don't tell you when things are not official, just so you guys know. Okay. Seriously, that's a big one to watch out for. And I know for a fact, especially working with CGC and hearing a lot of things outside of the community we have, a lot of people are going to start doing customs and a lot of people are going to start doing forgeries. So watch out for all that kind of stuff. All right, gang, you've been wonderful. Let's hear it for Don and Matt. Awesome two people, very good friends of mine. I love this. This is another brilliant episode of Character Collectors. I know that's super conceited of me to say it's brilliant, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate all of it. Forest Moon, hey, man. So glad all. Raj, thank you so much. Johnny, you guys are so nice. You guys are so lovely. These just very nice things you guys saying. You guys rock too. We appreciate you being here. We'll have some more stuff along the way. I'm going to have a roundtable soon. I told Matt, I told Don, got a couple other people in mind, and we're going to do a little bit of a live Q&A for Character Collectors, and I'm going to try to have some people on here who are just as crazy as us, so you can get a full treatment of it. But thank you all, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.